Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series here on Pro Wrestling Logic, and we move through the month of July 1986. Matt Bourne versus Mark Youngblood to open our program. Bourne in singles action here this week, and Youngblood a good challenge for him as he is a babyface that fans respect. Bourne, less than a year and a half off of a short-term WWF run. Bourne continues to go around the territories for the next several years, including the Big Josh run in WCW, which I wish we could cover, but there isn't enough of the 90-91 WCW stuff out there to cover it cohesively. But anyway, big drop kick by Youngblood early, and then we kind of see a very basic wrestling match to follow. Bourne tries to break things down, gets some cheating done, and really slows the match down. Bourne is super cool as far as getting the most out of the least, and he manages to kind of or belly-to-belly suplex. I almost said power slam, but I mean, it did take a good bit of power. Belly-to-belly suplex Youngblood around, and Youngblood is on the receiving end of a good bit of punishment, chokes and punches, kicks and the like for the next several minutes. Bourne also takes him down with a sleeper hold, among other things. Youngblood fights from underneath for a few minutes, and then Bourne takes him back. They go outside the ring for a little bit, do some brawling out there. Bourne gets a vertical suplex and hang time on it. Bourne really does bring a good match out of the Native American star. Misses a knee drop in the middle of the ring at a midpoint, and looks like Youngblood's going to get a victory, but does not, as Bourne gains a victory off of a stun gun type maneuver when the Native American tries to hit a flying head scissors. Doesn't get the job done. Victory for him. Blackjack Mulligan against Jerry Allen is your second match of the evening. Percy Pringle, of course, still alongside good old Blackjack, and as to be expected, Blackjack doesn't have a great deal of issues with Allen, obviously. Allen, of course, the previous week had been handled rather unceremoniously by one Abdullah the Butcher, and so not good if you're Jerry Allen, to say the very least, for this couple of weeks swing here. Blackjack Mulligan, of course, a guy who probably out of the business within the next, 4 or 5 years, early 90s. But still has a few good runs left. Has a WWF run in 87 that doesn't go too far. Then gets caught up in some legalities a few years later, making counterfeit money. Irish whip and a big boot to the midsection by Blackjack. Of course, Mulligan known for a lot of his Southern style stuff, also known as the father of Barry Windham, the grandfather of Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. Kendall Windham, also his son as well. So to enter, three offspring or grandchildren, as it were, actually 4, into the sport, pretty big deal. And obviously the Blackjack's a big deal in the 70s for Vince Sr., and so, or the elder Vince McMahon, more accurately. Anyway, so I mean that this match goes very one-sided. Big boot to the face of Allen, obviously going to get the job done, and the Claw gets the victory. Then we move on to a Gary Hart discussion of Abdullah the Butcher. Basically, he says he can control the Butchers, willing to put up $10,000 to get Bruiser Brody, that is, in the ring with Abdullah. Also pays the fine to get Abdullah out of trouble for his attack last week. He lets the fans know that the man from the Sudan does not like having hands put on him, and that's why the chaos from the previous week, and that leads to some issues there. Brian Adias and Steve Simpson up next. Diaz holding, I believe, the Texas Championship uh, here in July of '86. And Simpson, a guy from South Africa, his brother joins him, I guess, in a few months, not right off. But anyway, Steve Simpson, a guy from South Africa who really does have a good look. Very basic wrestling match, arm locks, hammer locks, and the like. Diaz having, several years of experience. Fans more behind him because they know him more. However, the fans do get behind Simpson because he is the younger guy who ends up with, I guess you'd say, the advantage by default. Simpson keeps the things moving. Various inside cradles, and they actually do the roll through several cradle spot. Both guys getting pinning attempts. Simpson manages to kind of look pretty good, although leg grapevine and takedowns by a Diaz lead to some questionable moments where it looks like Simpson may have to surrender, submit. He does not. Hip toss by Simpson near the 6 or 7 minute in the match, a pretty big deal. Diaz does manage to get a double underhook suplex, which looks very good, leads him to a potential victory. Simpson takes back over, gets things going back in his general direction for a minute or two. The win does go in the direction of Brian Diaz. Diaz does manage to get the victory after running into a big elbow from Simpson coming out the back door, and Diaz kind of uses that experience advantage of a couple of minutes to be able to regain composure and manages to get a victory off of a pinning combination and then I believe, vertical suplex into a pinning combination. There shoots the half, and actually it looked like a victory, but in reality, referee calls for a time limit draw, and so nothing really gets accomplished. Good go through there for Simpson. Anyway, Rick Rude and Lance Von Erich is your main event. Rude, of course, the World Heavyweight Champion of the World Class Wrestling Alliance, and Von Erich as the cousin, kind of given a good run here. Rude probably in the better shape of his up to this point in his career. Some would say he's in better shape from 89 to 91, but the world is Rick Rude's oyster, and I always wondered why he didn't get more of a chance with a major title, and maybe in WCW, if not the WWF. Although WWF was a babyface territory when he was there, so that explains that. But him as a WCW champion along the way, I could have seen that. Anyway, Lance Von Erich holds on to the arm for several minutes, hammer locks, arm bars, arm locks, and the like. Rude heads out to the floor. Actually, something simple, but holds on to the shoulder, sells the shoulder even when he's outside and not having pressure applied to it. Something simple, but really important. Speaking of shoulders, Von Erich, posts himself a Hawaiian shirt decked out. Percy Pringle is happy with that. They go several minutes more through, and Von Erich is able to gain a bit of an advantage, bounces him off the ropes after a few shots, clothesline by Von Erich, and Von Erich heads to the outside of the ring, and there is a non-title victory for Lance Von Erich here, as the referee gets struck by Rude, causing the disqualification victory, and there you go. But we're going to move through The rest of July here into August, or the rest of June into July and August, we'll be back with more right after this.